Rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city. Why? I don't know. Ideally, there should be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents. Why? When too many people move in at once, city services responsible for utilities and permits are quickly overloaded. Oh, that makes sense. That's why we need, one municipal employee for every 100 residents. Most city budgets do not allow for immediate hiring of new staff. What is our conclusion of this argument?
Ideally, there should be at least one employee for every 100 residents.
No, I said rapid. Could it be rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city?
Yes, that it's going to be our
Okay.
first sentence.
So first sentence, yeah.
Because you're like, why? Because all the rest of this is
It's a premise supporting it.
supporting why. So
Mhm.
I agree, Zach, that this I think is kind of like a subsidiary conclusion.
Mhm.
And our support for our subsidiary conclusion is because after both of these, I was able to ask the question why. Well, why? Why should there be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents? Because when too many people move in at once, city services responsible for the utilities overload, and we don't have money to hire new ones. So this supports our subsidiary conclusion. But in turn, our subsidiary conclusion that there should be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents supports that rapid growth can be disastrous. So,
and that's what I look at it. Like when I'm looking at it from my conclusions, I look for a very opinionated sentence. And I think an opinionated sentence that doesn't kind of like follows, like if like how you did, George, like if it doesn't give me a why, because I kind of put therefore in front of my sentences, and if it can't tell me why, then I automatically know, okay, that's the main conclusion.
Explain the therefore thing to Zach, because I've never shared with Zach the therefore test.
So the therefore test is like you put it in front of a sentence that you think is your conclusion, and then you ask why. And if it can't tell you why, or like if it's not enough to tell you why, then it's like your main conclusion. Like, so I'll put it in front of like, therefore, ideally, there should be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents. I mean, if I say why, like it's telling me why. Like it's really telling me like it should be tell me why. And then if you keep reading, it's like an add-on to that. But if I put it in front of like, therefore, rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city, it doesn't tell me why. It's just telling me what it could be. It's just telling me like what could happen. So therefore I know, okay, maybe I can.
And just to add to what you said, you said like it doesn't tell you why. Like it doesn't offer any, there's no, it alone does not offer any support.
Yeah.
If it were standing alone, because I just wanted to clarify that because the whole rest of the argument tells us why, but it alone.
Exactly. It alone doesn't offer any support. So for me, when I see that, like when I read it, I'm like, okay, great. Does that give me any support? If I keep reading the sentences, is anything going to be offered to me? And if it doesn't, I'm like, okay, this is the main conclusion, because it's not giving me, it's not a part of a premise. It's like, because sometimes like the sub-conclusions can kind of be a part of a premise, like of that, or it's not adding on to anything. It's just giving me the author's subjectiveness thought.
The other thing that you can do is read the therefore test. I think the second sentence does a little bit work for it. If you are between two, because I think that second sentence is a subsidiary conclusion, is also the because test. So read the first one and say because, and does it follow by the second one? So we said rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city because there should be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents.
I do what you did. Like, how do we know that?
Well, because of this, like that is with this semicolon, this whole thing, like we know why this is bad, right? This is bad because there's not enough people doing all of this stuff. Where on the other end, if we would try it the other way and say, ideally, there should be at least one municipal employee for every 100 residents because rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city. That first sentence doesn't follow that because, right? Like that makes no sense.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So back to, this is a strengthen question. So we want something strong. So we want to strengthen this idea that rapid population growth can be disastrous for a small city. All right. What are our predictions?
Something that strengthens the idea that the rapid population can be disastrous.
Yeah. What would strengthen that? I'm thinking that there's no housing for people. They run out of
Right.
food. There's
It's overcrowding. I just said overcrowding.
yeah,
Like,
disease spreads.
Yeah.
Any of those things. Okay. So A, during budget shortages, small cities tend, I don't like the word tend, during budget shortages, small cities tend to place a high priority on basic municipal services while cutting back on less essential services. That
What?
almost weakens it, but it really does
Yeah.
nothing.
Does nothing.
B, new residents of any city bring with them new ideas about how maybe these ideas are great.
Who cares?
Good for you for having these ideas. C, some, so at least one large city can absorb, well, one, we don't care about large cities, but anyways, some large cities can absorb rapid population growth. Okay, cool. This is just saying that, hey, there's at least one city, a large city out there that can, absorb these people better than those many small cities can. That doesn't, another cool thing. More, is this an absolute or relative term?
No.
More readily, absolute or relative?
No.
Is it absolute or relative? And
More
you're saying
readily,
no?
Oh, I thought you said, is it
Would it be
absolutely relative?
would it be absolute? No.
Oh, absolutely relative.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it an absolute or relative term?
Relative?
Yes, because we're saying
Relative.
that large cities, this one city can absorb rapid population more than small cities. Maybe both of them can do it amazingly well though, or maybe both of them suck at it. We're just saying at least one of them does a better job than many small cities. Do you see how that relative doesn't help us at all?
Yeah.
And for more reasons than there's that. I mean, you don't have to go that far to get across this one off. Just because one city can do, even if it was amazing, just because one city does an amazing job, doesn't mean that the small cities are bad at it. D, a low unemployment rate is one of the main reasons that new residents move to a city. Okay. Well, what does that have to do with it destroying the new small city? I'm really hoping it's E. E, new residents of, I like the word most. So new residents of more than half of small cities do not start paying city taxes for at least a year. If I read this one first.
It makes sense though, because it's saying something in regards to their budgets don't allow, and if they don't pay taxes, that doesn't help their budget.
Yes. Oh, excellent. Yeah, it's saying we need to have money to hire more of these municipal employees for every 100 residents. But these new people who are moving in aren't paying the taxes for at least a year. So we have a year where we have to hire these new people to support them for their utilities and permits without having overload, but we're not even getting their tax money yet.
Yeah. I thought
but more importantly, it satisfies the conclusion that can be disastrous. If people are not paying taxes,
but you have to assume that taxes are important.
Yeah. I mean, of course. Of course.